Alright guys, we're back again. Today is more of a DIY video showing you how to install a finish in our new bathroom. We're using Delta products. So as you can see here, we open it up. The new Delta trim box comes with the plate, new cartridge, new spout, all the stuff you need to finish out your trim on your tub. So first thing is first, make sure your water's off to the diverter. Then after that, you can start pulling out that plastic cover, which I call like the tile template for the tile guy. That way he makes the correct square around the diverter. That way you could turn the stops correctly with the screwdriver, and the trim plate will cover all the hole. A lot of tile guys take that out and they don't follow it, and then you get screwed. So make sure, tell the tile guy to keep that plate in there. That way your finish is going to be correct. So make sure your stops are off to start installing the cartridge. In this case, you can see water came out. That's because when we install, we always flush out everything inside the water lines. If you haven't done that when you installed it, do it before installing the cartridge. That way you don't have issues with the cartridge going bad from wood chips in the in the lines or anything like that. Next thing, to install the cartridge, you have to install the seat and spring adapters for the cartridge. Make sure you press that in real good. Put some grease on it if you need to. Push it all the way in until it bottoms out. Then grab your cartridge. It's going to be labeled hot side on the cartridge itself. Make sure you put it on the left side. If you roughed in your water lines incorrectly, then you can switch that over and your cartridge will work the same way. So once it's that, tighten up the bottom nut. Do not use channels. There's no need for it. Put some grease on it, anti-seize. That way when you take it out in the future, it's not hard to take out. Hand tying it. Make sure your cartridge is off, and then you can start turning on your stops. Do one side at a time. You don't have to do it evenly. It's a pressure balance, so it doesn't matter which side you do first. Just turn it on evenly. Make sure they open up all the way. Do not turn on one side less than the other, because you will have issues with the cartridge itself. Once the valves are all on, install the O-ring over the bonnet of the cartridge so you can slide in the chrome sleeve or whatever sleeve your finish is. Slide that sleeve in until it bottoms out. Then you can start sliding the plate. Use the 2 screws provided. In this case it's chrome, so you're going to have chrome plated screws to tighten up that trim plate. Tying them up, I like tying them up evenly. That way the plate goes in flush correctly to the tile. You could tighten up one side more than the other. It doesn't matter. It would all go against the wall evenly anyhow when they're both tight. So I usually tighten up one by one here and there, and then I tighten them up correctly. Make sure your plate is level before completely tightening. As you can see, this plate looks square, but the edges are curved. So it's a little tricky to keep it level. Just do it by eye. Go by the corners. Make sure it's the same distance to the grout line. Even if the grout line is crooked, do not put your plate straight, because it's going to look even worse. Go by the grout line. Do not use a level, because if the grout line is crooked and your plate is level, you're going to see it incorrectly. Then after that, put in the handle, and then you're going to slide that black plastic piece. Sometimes it's gray. That's the temperature guide. That's the way you control the temperature. So make sure when you guys finish, test your water, because if you have inspections, you will fail. So once that is that, put that plastic temperature guide, then put the little handle for the temperature and tighten up that screw. That screw does not have to be super tight. It's just snug, because if you tighten it too hard, the little temperature handle, it's gonna be hard to turn, and it's gonna turn on the diverter while you're trying to adjust it and move the big handle. So just snug, and you're good to go. That's all done. Now we're gonna move on to the spout. A lot of guys install it differently. This is the way I install it. I stub out with copper. Obviously, I clean it nice and clean. Make sure you take out all that the mortar or the thin set, grout, paint, whatever fell on it, because you know those contractors are never taking care of our pipes. So clean it real good, make sure it's nice and easy. On this case, I'm gonna solder the end. A lot of guys solder a male. I don't like doing that. I like soldering the adapter directly on it. So take out that O-ring and clean the adapter real good on the face and inside. So I'm gonna show you, get your cleaner brush, clean the inside, and then clean the face. Make sure the face is nice and clean because that's where the solder is going to stick also. So you're soldering the face, and it's obviously going to absorb it. It's going to create that soldering action. I believe it's called capillary reaction or something like that. Once you measure out the adapter, cut the copper to the correct distance from the wall. You could read the instructions and it tells you what distance it needs to be. I've done this so many times, I do it by eye, and I'm always dead on. Usually just put the adapter next to it, measure it almost flush to the adapter, and cut it there. After that, put some flux on it, slide that adapter on there. Make sure you leave about an 1/8 inch out from the brass. That way it gives you enough meat to solder. Cover up the tub, so that way nothing drips on it, hot flux or solder, and heat it up. Heat up the brass, heat up the copper, all nice and even, and then you start applying that solder. Take it easy, do it slow. It's a little tricky because it's a joint. It does have a socket inside, but what happens is if you put too much solder, it's going to drip onto the bottom. And then when you put that O-ring on there and try to tighten up the spout, you're not going to be able to. So make sure you have no drips on the bottom, anything hanging from the bottom of the brass. All right. I always add a couple flux after I'm done soldering to clean it out so it looks nice and clean. After that, I let it cool down before you put that O-ring on. Do not put the O-ring because you could burn that O-ring. So meanwhile, before putting that O-ring on, I filled the hole where the copper's coming out with some caulk, some silicone. That way, if any water slides through between the wall and the spout, which this will be a nice tight fit anyway, if you leave everything level at the rough. I just like filling this hole up just in case you get some moisture behind there. It doesn't go inside the wall and starts creating mold. So once you have that up, now you can put the O-ring on there because it's cool, and start screwing up the spout. The spout's going to go in a couple turns, and then you could just tighten it up nice and snug, and it should be, if you did the plumbing correctly, it should be nice and flush with the tile. If you have a gap, that means you did not level your spout pipe coming out, and now you're going to have a gap and it's going to look horrible. So once that's done, level it up. If you like, put some clear silicone, a thin bead if you have a gap. If it's tight, you really don't need to because you sealed it up. This is a plumbing tip that I always do to every shower head, because now the shower heads, every homeowner complains there's not enough water coming out. So this has increased the flow. First thing is first, pull out the screen. Once you pull out that screen, do not throw that away because you have to reinstall that. You're going to see a little black O-ring inside there. That's limiting the flow of water going through that shower head, the gallons per minute going through there. So remove that O-ring. It's going to allow more water to go through the shower head, and you're going to notice not necessarily more pressure, but more flow. So take that O-ring out. That's garbage. And then slide that screen back in there with the gasket. That way your shower head doesn't leak. And it protects the shower head also, the little screen. Because if you get any debris inside the shower head, is going to stop at the screen. You could take it out, clean that screen out, and then slap the shower head back in there. If you don't have that screen, it's just the shower head itself is going to get clogged, and now you got to get a new shower head. All right. So we pull out the rough and stop plugs that we use for the shower head. They're like plastic stub outs. Little trick I do also to the scutcheon, the little tabs it has, I crimp them a little. That way the scutcheon on the shower head, it's nice and tight. I like doing that just because I don't like a loose scutcheon. I also put a dab of caulk or silicone on the top just to hold the scutcheon in there if it's loose. Put some Teflon on there. Doesn't matter how much Teflon you install, how many threads you're covering, because I'm going to show you a little something that I always do at the end, no matter what. So once you screw in that shower head, the way I tying up, if you made it this far just because you want to critique me, let me know how you guys tying up the shower heads. What I do is I get channel locks, the handle itself, I put it inside the shower arm, and that's how I tie it. I've been doing it like this for years, and I have no issues. I know some guys tying it up with the regular channels behind the scutcheon, directly onto the shower head. I just don't like marking anything, so this is the way I find it's a lot easier and it comes out clean. Let me know in the comments below how you guys do it. Now, if you did the run plumbing correctly, that scutcheon should be nice and flush with the wall. Now it's time to tighten up the shower head. The way I tighten up the shower head, do it by hand first, and then grab your smooth jaw channels or a crescent wrench, whatever you're going to use. Do not use jaws because you will scratch the finish. Chrome, brushed nickel, oil rub bronze, whatever you're using, do not use tools that can scratch the finish because it does look like shit, and the homeowner will probably complain if they see it. So I use the smooth jaw channels, toothless jaws. Make sure the shower head delta in this case is nice and level. This is what I do. This is why I told you don't worry about if the Teflon shows. If the Teflon shows, you're gonna cut it after. Get a razor blade, cut it, and then you're gonna remove that excess Teflon. That way it looks nice and clean, like if you didn't use Teflon. I use Blue Monster, so it's real thick. So I do like probably 2 or 3 turns, and that's it. But even 1/2 inch Teflon is still too wide, and it still shows sometimes. So use the razor blade, cut it flush with the shower head, and you're gonna see like you had no Teflon there, and it looks beautiful. Boom, nice and clean. All right. Now, once you're all done, test everything out, turn it on, hot and cold, and you're good to go. Look how nice this bathroom came out, nice, clean. If you live in North Jersey, need some plumbing work done, residential or commercial, let us know. See you on the next one. See ya.